As human beings, we sometimes view events as being final, and nowhere is this more true than when it comes to failure. We label ourselves. We say things like, I am a failure and I failed. When in reality, that's not even possible. You can't be a failure. You can choose to adopt the identity of someone who has failed and therefore see yourself as a failure, but failure is not a final event, and we have to push through that. I think it's important to fail more. And you may be in a job where that isn't really allowed. If you failed once or twice, you would be fired, and there would be a severe consequence for that. But I think that's a different situation because it's a different scale. I don't think you're typically tasked with things that would be easy to fail at. If you were lazy, if you chose not to do the work, if you keep showing up late, yeah, that's going to lead to failure. However, the tasks, the projects that you are given to do by your managers, by your bosses, aren't typically things that are going to lead to you getting fired. And that's important to understand. So, as entrepreneurs, we need to actually fail often, a lot more. And I'm not saying that we should fail for failure's sake. That's an entirely different thing. Because you can definitely begin to reinforce the idea that you fail often. And that's not what we're after here. What we're after is the fact that we're not taught in school, in society, in books to fail more. Why is that? You know, most successful entrepreneurs, their first few businesses failed, but they learned from it. That's why we need to fail more, so that we can learn from our failures and then become better the next time around. You know, this podcast and its accompanying blog, I've been doing this for about 4 years now, and I still haven't gotten quite the traction or quite the traffic that I'd want to see coming to the website. But should I just chalk that up as being a failure? I don't think that makes sense. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm just beginning to learn the type of things that I need to do on social media to drive more traffic and get my content out there. As long as I'm breathing, as long as my heart's still beating, as long as I still have things to say, this isn't a failure. I didn't define a niche or a target demographic up front. That maybe was not the best. I maybe should have done more research as far as looking for a target market. But I feel like I found that niche as well, because now we're moving over into music entrepreneurship, and I believe that's something that, although it makes me nervous, I think it could add a lot of value to musicians out there who are looking for ways other than the just work harder in music and make more money to support your lifestyle. People who are looking to break the mold and do things a little bit differently than how everyone else is doing, or just perpetuate a day job and then have a music career on top of it, which is not the easiest thing in the world in terms of energy and time constraints. So if you are failing and learning from it, that's what's important. You have to know what the takeaways are, what lessons you needed to learn from that failure. And more often than not, it's just testing. If you're willing to persevere and work through it and keep going, you will find what you're looking for on the other side.